A calling to a convent life was born within me. But because of my illness, no one thought that I would be able to go to a convent. In the hospital where I stayed was a chapel. And I said, God, I wish I could stay here forever and serve you with this suffering, with my illness.
Anna Jodkowska was born in 1944 in the Belarusian village of Staniewicz in the Grodno region. Her parents, poor farmers, had 8 children. Their daily life was not easy, but they managed to raise the children. Little Anna was unable to play with others her age because of serious illness, and she had to leave school. Yet Anna kept a secret in her heart, seemingly impossible during this most difficult period of Soviet persecution, a period in which state atheism was brutally implemented. Unbeknownst to the outside world, she started her path to realize her dream. In 1966, she entered, in hiding, the convent in Grodno, Sisters of the Holy Family of Nazareth. Only a few knew her secret, that she was a Catholic nun.
People continue to remember that name, Aunt Anya or Anya. I tell them, I am no longer Anya, but Sister Stella. But then they say, so how is Anya? Is she alive? To which I answer, no, Anya is dead, but Sister Stella is alive. Then they pray, God rest her soul. They didn't notice that I am the same person.
The lives of Catholics in Belarus has never been easy. It has always been associated with a life of fear, insecurity, and real threat. The Catholic Church has repeatedly been subject to brutal repressions. The first began in 1795 with the Third Partition of Poland. Then in 1921, when Eastern Belarus became one of the Soviet republics, and finally, and most completely, in 1939, when a third wave of repressions, in which the communist government introduced atheism by force and closed 3/4 of the Catholic Church's pre-war parishes, church buildings were reduced to rubble or converted into warehouses or sports facilities. Religious education was banned. Young people and children could only go to church accompanied by their parents. Many priests and convent sisters were banished or deported to Siberia, whilst those allowed to stay were strictly monitored and persecuted. Stella Yodkowska, with the other sisters from Nazareth, lived in one of the few Belarusian churches open during Soviet times.
Sister Stella, Miss Anya, was a symbol of the convent and Bernardine Church. People would turn to her because our prelate was busy in the confessional for hours. So many people wanted to receive the sacraments that he could not manage.
Then the dean asked me, Sister, please prepare people for the sacrament of marriage. So I took care of adults. There was a great campaign against people marrying or baptizing their children. If parents baptized their child, they were publicly ridiculed. Their names were disclosed on a notice board for public scrutiny. So we helped them in secret.
Soviet policy towards religion was based on the ideology of Marxism-Leninism, which made atheism the official doctrine of the Soviet Union. The state was committed to the destruction of religion. For those caught teaching the faith, the punishment was severe. Arrest, beatings, and deportation to the dreaded gulags for re-education was the order of the day.
I took care of the children during the holidays and catechized. The catechisms were invariably held on difficult conditions, but I knew I had to give God to anyone who asked. Over 3 months, I would catechize maybe 150, 200 children. Sister Anya taught my son and daughter in secret. The lessons would take place either in the church choir or behind the organs or somewhere in the sacristy. The children were ready to receive their first Holy Communion thanks to Sister's dedication. I was once summoned to the tribunal, where they charged me with teaching religion. I told them, I am not a teacher and I do not catechize. They then said, you have been denounced by the people you catechize. To which I responded, let me see the witnesses in that case. But they could produce none.
In these terrible times, Auntie Anne was secretly appointed Prioress of Nazareth in Grodno. She also managed to find time to follow the desire that God had placed in her heart at the beginning of her vocation, to bring Christ to the suffering.
I once arrived late in the evening. A sister ran out breathless and said, "Father, you need to go to the hospital quickly. A dying man needs a priest. They will let you in, but you cannot look like a priest, Father." In a suit, with the Holy Sacrament under my jacket, I went with her to a dying man who confessed, received the anointing of the sick and Holy Communion. I asked her if this happened often. She said, "I visit the sick in hospital constantly. Somehow God shows me the way to people in need."
Persecution of the Belarusian Catholic Church lasted until the end of the 1980s and the onset of perestroika. With the political thaw came freedom of religion, and parishes immediately began to seek the return of their former places of worship.
Chwalony Jezus Chrystus. Serdecznie witamy księdza biskupa.
The communists were anxious to keep this church, but people began to join me on my visits to the religious ministry official to ask for the return of our church. He chased us out through one door, but we came with our cause through another. It took 3 years of non-stop visits to get the church back. Finally, the official said that hair would more likely grow on his palm than we would see the church returned. But people were so active and helped me. A lot of people gathered to pray the rosary in front of various officials. And in the end, the church was returned to us in a week.
Sister Stella serves in Belarus to this day. In communist times, she carried out her mission to the suffering in hiding. Today, she can dedicate herself openly.
Здравствуйте. Jest katoliki? Jest. A wasze dzieci doprowadzone do sakramentu wszystkich? Nic nie żaluję. I gdyby trzeba było jeszcze...
I regret nothing, and if I had to do this all again, I would do it again. I regret nothing what I did for people, for the church, for Nazareth. This is my greatest joy. God used me, a pitiful creation. I couldn't have done anything without God's help. Absolutely nothing. That I have remained alive, healthy, and sane throughout, despite all the anxiety and fear. I owe all this uniquely to God and Our Lady. That's it.